Okay, so you ever like slip on a really amazing, like perfectly fitting piece of clothing,
Yeah.
a jacket or a dress, whatever, and think, wow, this fits like a glove.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah, like how do they do that?
Exactly.
Well, get this. Today we're going behind the scenes of that magic, diving deep into the world of wearing apparel pattern makers.
It's a hidden world, really, of artistry and precision.
Hmm.
We're talking about the people who take a designer's vision, like a sketch on paper, and turn it into the clothes you actually wear.
Yeah, and what's wild is that our main source for this deep dive, this RoleCatcher Career Guide thing, it's like it reveals it's way more than just sewing, which I kind of thought that's what it was.
So much more.
Yeah. Those RoleCatcher resources are our guides for this whole deep dive, by the way.
They're amazing.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head about it being more than just sewing. This career guide is blowing my mind. Like, they have to understand fabric, drape, how bodies move, all just to create the pattern.
It's true. It's like, how can I put it? It's like architecture, but for clothes.
Well,
You're working within these constraints, the properties of the fabric, the shape of the human body to create something that's both functional and beautiful.
I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
It's like design meets engineering with a sprinkle of art thrown in for good measure.
100%.
As his excerpt, it talks about how they use everything from like hand tools to industrial machines to cut the patterns. That's a wild blend of traditional and high tech, right?
Absolutely. I mean, they might start with a hand-drawn sketch, but then they'll take that and translate it into a digital pattern using CAD software, sometimes even incorporating 3D modeling to see how the garment will drape on like a virtual body.
Wait, 3D modeling for clothes? That's next level.
It's crazy, right? And what's really interesting is the guide highlights the sustainability aspect here, too.
Oh, interesting.
By creating these virtual prototypes, pattern makers can test different designs and fits without wasting any actual fabric, which is like a major concern in the fashion industry.
That's huge. Okay, so they've got the design. They're using tech to like refine it and perfect it. What's the next step? How do they actually bring these patterns to life?
Well, think about the last time you tried to like sew something yourself. A lot goes into making sure the fabric lays correctly, right?
Oh, tell me about it. My attempts at sewing usually end up lopsided at best.
Huh. Exactly. And that's where a pattern maker's expertise really shines. The guide talks about how they use darks, seams, even manipulate like the grain of the fabric to achieve that, the drape, the fit they're going for.
Darts. Grain of the fabric. I'm realizing I know nothing about making clothes, but it sounds like these details, they're not just random. There's like a science to it.
Exactly, precisely. Even something as simple as a dart, that little fold of fabric stitched down, can totally change how a garment hangs and like accentuates the shape of the body. It's subtle, but it makes all the difference.
Okay, so we've got these master craftspeople blending traditional techniques with cutting-edge tech. Speaking of these high-tech tools, I'm curious, where do pattern makers actually do all this work? Is it all like sewing machines and mannequins?
Well, it can be a lot of things, actually. It's a pretty diverse landscape. The career guide paints this picture of, those traditional settings like textile mills and garment factories, like bustling with activity.
Okay, so those big places you see in movies where it's all fabric rolls and sewing machines going a mile a minute.
Exactly. But here's where it gets interesting. The guide also mentions like design studios popping up,
Oh, well.
sleek, modern spaces. They're probably sketching on tablets and doing 3D modeling and get this, even home studios.
Whoa, hold up. You're telling me some pattern makers are rocking this from their house. That's amazing. Is that for like the freelance folks we were talking about?
Yeah.
The RoleCatcher stuff mentioned freelancing, right?
You got it. Freelancing is huge in the fashion world. Independent designers need skilled pattern makers, and working from home, it offers that flexibility, right? You get to be your own boss.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's competitive, but hey, if you've got the skills and the hustle, why not?
Okay, now I'm picturing myself surrounded by fabric scraps. But instead of my disastrous DIY attempts, I'm whipping up designer patterns. It's making me want to switch careers. But let's be real for a sec. Are there downsides to this gig? The RoleCatcher resources mentioned something about automated recruiters, and that sounds kind of scary.
Right. Yeah, landing that dream job's a whole other ballgame. The role catcher section about like how to beat those digital gatekeepers was pretty eye-opening. Turns out just having mad pattern making skills isn't enough anymore.
Yeah, like how do you stand out to a computer? Do you write your resume in binary code or something?
Huh. I wish it were that easy. The key takeaway here is that you have to speak the algorithm's language. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that means understanding exactly what skills those employers are looking for and then highlighting those keywords in your application. It's all about like tailoring your resume and cover letter to match that specific job description.
So it's less about being like a creative genius with fabric and more about being a wordsmith with your resume. That's rough.
Well, both are important. You need the skills to actually impress them in the interview. But first, you got to get past those automated systems, right?
Right.
And that's where, like, knowing how to present yourself, your skills in the digital world, that's crucial.
Okay, I get it. Got to play the game to get in the game, though.
Yeah, I agree.
But what about the actual work itself, not just like the job hunt?
Mm-hmm.
This RoleCatcher Career Guide, it didn't sugarcoat anything, did it?
Yeah, you're right. It's not all like sunshine and runway shows. Long hours, especially as deadlines are approaching, that's like par for the course, right?
Yeah.
Fashion waits for no one. And because the industry is constantly evolving, you have to be a lifelong learner, always on top of the latest trends and technologies.
Okay, so maybe not the best gig for those who, like, hate change or working late.
Probably not. But what the guide really emphasizes is the immense creativity involved. Imagine like holding a garment that you helped bring to life, from just a simple sketch. You're using your hands, your creativity, your technical skills to shape, literally shape, the way people dress.
That must be so rewarding, though, like, to see your work out in the world, maybe even on a runway someday.
Absolutely. It's that perfect blend of art and practicality. You're not just designing for design's sake, you're creating clothes that people are going to wear, that they're going to feel confident and amazing in.
Okay, so for anyone listening who's thinking, like, sign me up,
Yeah.
but they have no idea where to even begin, what's that first step?
Well, that's where RoleCatcher comes in, right? This is like the aha moment for our listeners, hopefully.
I love those.
I know, right? So the platform, it isn't just about giving you all this cool information. It's about giving you the actual tools, like the step up to actually land your dream job.
It's like that extra stitch that holds everything together.
100%.
Okay, so break it down for me. How does RoleCatcher actually help those aspiring pattern makers actually break into the industry? What does it do?
So imagine like having this secret weapon, in your job search arsenal. RoleCatcher helps you tailor your application so you're highlighting those exact skills that employers are looking for.
Okay.
You can practice interview questions, even get feedback on your responses. So it's like having a career coach, but, in your pocket.
That's amazing. So even if someone's listening and they have like zero experience, they can use this platform to like get a leg up.
Absolutely. I mean, RoleCatcher, it just empowers you to put your best foot forward because even in like the creative world of fashion, sometimes you need that little tech boost to get your foot in the door.
That's so true. This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. We started with clothes, something we like see and wear every day, and we uncovered this whole hidden world of creativity, technical skill, even technology.
And don't forget those home studios.
That's right, working in your PJs.
Yeah.
Just goes to show, no matter what field you're interested in, there's always more to discover, beneath the surface.
Always.
Speaking of discovering, remember how the career guide talked about creativity within constraints in like the pattern making world? It got me thinking, if you could reimagine any everyday object with like a fashion twist, what would it be?
Oh, wow. Putting me on the spot here. I don't know. How about a lampshade but transformed into like a dramatic sculptural hat?
Okay, I love it.
Or a tea kettle, but it's reimagined as a quirky avant-garde handbag.
Okay, see, you're a natural. I can already picture these designs on like a Paris runway. Okay, one last question. For all those aspiring pattern makers out there, what's your like final piece of advice for someone who's like, they're feeling that spark of inspiration, but maybe they're like a little intimidated by the journey ahead? What would you say to them?
My advice is simple. Follow that thread. Explore, learn, experiment. Don't be afraid to like make mistakes. That's how you grow. And who knows, you might just stitch together a career that's way more rewarding than you ever imagined.
Love that. And there you have it, folks. Another deep dive successfully navigated.